Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Halo Season 2. So to put in perspective, I've played some of the Halo original trilogy, but not the whole way through. A lot of it was just some PvP, and then I did see like a game movie of, I think, the first three and the fourth one, and maybe the fifth one. I'm not really sure. So I've never read any of the books. I did see the absolutely fucking horrible Forward Until Dawn, or whatever that thing was called. So, I don't have a special attachment to how the video game, universe played out, or how the first and second and third game and all that jazz, like exactly how those ones were supposed to go. So I have no idea really how close this matches to the video game. So all that being said, Season 2 is way better than Season 1. To start off with, Quan, the little Asian girl who did nothing to nowhere and had a pointless side story, fixed her hair. Jesus, her hair was so terrible in the first one. They fixed it in this season, and they actually made her matter a little bit. And that's one of the things that I like about this season in general, is that the side characters were very pointless in the first one. And in the second, I'm saying second, but first season and now in the second season, the side characters actually matter a little bit. Now, my main complaint with the first season was that it could have been a good movie, but because they had to drag it out to 8 or 10 episodes, whatever it was, that it was too long and had too much filler that did nowhere, did nothing, blah. In this one, I still think they have a little bit of pacing issues. I think there's a couple of spots where they could have gone a little bit faster, tightened things up a little bit. But overall, I am much, much happier with the pacing of this show. They did a really good job, especially in that first episode, of really hooking me with that badass scene with the Master Chief. That kept me going until the next thing. And I imagine, just from some casual side conversations, whatever, that I've seen or heard with some really passionate people, I think that there's a couple episodes where the Master Chief doesn't have his armor on. Spoiler alert for that, I guess. But there's some purists that I feel like are the guys who didn't want Judge Dredd to have his helmet off, because in the comic books he never had his helmet off. So they were really happy with the remake Judge Dredd because he never took his helmet off. And I was like, I like Karl Urban's face. I want to see it. That's why I liked the original Judge Dredd, because he took his helmet off and I could see Sylvester Stallone act. So, not that, Karl Urban didn't do he did a good job, but I would have liked to have seen his face, but, purists are never take the helmet off. Same thing with the people who were pissed off that the Mandalorian guy took his helmet off, and so they had to, fish around for some, cleansing ritual thing to be able to re-cleanse and keep your helmet on forever again. And I was just nope, I'm fine. I like Pedro Pascal's face. So in this one, I actually really, really enjoyed how long he didn't have his armor for, because the Mjolnir armor, or whatever the fuck it's called, it's so overpowered that it's just like fighting Superman without kryptonite. What are you gonna do, Britch? Nothing. So the fact that they took away the armor, I thought worked out really well, because you still got to see that, yeah, his armor's badass, but you can't just put anybody in that armor and hope for the best, because he is a badass motherfucker outside of the armor as well. And I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought that they did a really good job with the CGI, let's be honest, but they did a really good job of showing that, no, yeah, this guy is a genetic, badass motherfucker. He's gonna kick your shit regardless of whether or not he has the armor. So that was really enjoyable to watch. And then getting back to the side characters again, Bokeem Woodside, his side story, I actually started to care about this time around. I liked his character, and Halsey, that part dragged a little long, where I was a little confused by that, but her, and then the new guy that they added that took over for Halsey, I don't remember his name, but I liked where his character went. And then Perrin Goski, oh man, exactly what happened is what I was hoping to happen. So stay tuned. If you're oh man, just stay tuned. I'm not going to say any more, but yeah, a couple things didn't really make sense to me. So one, they kept on going back to this like overhead shot of the Master Chief where they're pulling Cortana out, and it didn't even look like Pablo Schreiber or whatever the actor's name is, because she's just so gaunt. Like I don't know what's up with that angle, but every time I'm like, I know that's supposed to be him, but we literally were just looking at his face, and that doesn't look like his face. So what the fuck? But whatever. So they never really explained, like, okay, so he turned off and Cortana took over his body at the end of the first season, and now they magicked away Cortana to a separate thing because, all right, sure. And then we also saw Mackie, spoiler for the first season, die in season 1, and then she's back in season 2. And if you're hoping that they will explain why she's back, prepare for disappointment, because they don't. They don't ever really explain. It's just like, I'm back now. Like, I have to be back. I am ordained to be back or some shit. Like, whatever. That being said, I think they integrated her much better in this show, or in this season, than the first season. So in the first season, you're like, why the fuck are those aliens calling her the chosen one or whatever? And there's only like that little hint where it's like, and then we'll kill her. Then like, then why are you using her? Like, what is she useful now? It doesn't make any sense. But here, like, she's been ostracized, and then the Arbiter's there, and he's been ostracized, and so they're doing their whole thing. So like, I think that there's probably more that was filled in with maybe the video game side of things. I don't know for sure, but I think that it explained a little bit better why she existed in this realm and with the Covenant to begin with. So yeah, and it wasn't so much about like her and Master Chief falling in love or whatever. So they did a good job of handling her return, I thought, other than not explaining it, but the actions she took once she, appeared again, I thought made sense and helped drive the plot forward in a sensible way. And that's what I thought about a lot of this is, another side character they introduced in like the first episode. I'm like, do I care about you? Is this going to be one of those things? And in the end, I think it worked out to have her be the thing that we care about for that group of people. So as those things are happening, and then later on, we do care, and it all does a much better job of integrating and making you care about the characters as the season progresses, rather than just plot ending nowhere like terrible haircut girl in the first season. They still don't explain why terrible haircut... Well, okay, she's no longer terrible haircut girl. Now she's just Quan. But they don't, in my opinion, they don't really explain why Quan has this magic ability that they show off. Again, maybe it's something that's explained in the books, or maybe they'll explain it in future seasons. But as of right now, okay, sure. And then, yeah. So I overall very much enjoyed it. But they did end on what I felt was essentially a cliffhanger. Yes, they did they came to a conclusion for one of the main things that they were working towards. I would say a couple of them. Like I said, a lot of the side stories mattered, and I feel like if they matter and you care about them, they may or may not have come to an end, but an ending-ish did occur with most of them in a way that I felt was satisfactory. But they didn't quite solve a thing that they introduced pretty late in the season, and it was great setup for a future season, or if you go and play the video games, they delve into that a whole lot more, because I do remember that much from the video game playthrough and watching that I've done, that the things that they introduced later in the season are very much dealt with in the video games. So I don't know, I feel like this kind of met up somewhere that, again, vague recollection of Halo 1 maybe Halo 2. I feel like where the storyline is at is sort of around there, because I remember the Arbiter wasn't a thing until, I think, Halo 2, maybe Halo 3. I think it was Halo 2's told a lot of his story, and I feel like we're coming to the conclusion of his story with this one, where he and the Master Chief had some interaction. So I think that this may be like a companion bit to the video games, but again, I don't know. But I've always said, with all these like video game and book or movie adaptations, but anything that's adapted from a previously seen thing that was on its own and then is now here and it's supposed to live on its own, it needs to live on its own. You shouldn't have to have background knowledge of the other, either prequel or remake or whatever, or other, intellectual property that's going on. You shouldn't have to have any of that to understand what's going on. And I felt that I was satisfied enough with understanding what was going on. Yes, there's some unexplained things like why Mackie is back, back, but it didn't bother me enough because of how she was used for the rest of the season. And exactly where this aligns in the Halo universe also doesn't bother me because I think it works for this show. Now, if this show never gets a third season, I'll be a little annoyed because I think they do set up for a really good third season. But it also wouldn't surprise me if they didn't get another one because, just video game fans being what they are and the fact that he, is without his armor for so long, I can see them still being like, still not good enough, meh. But I enjoyed it, and you might as well if you're not hardcore about the video game. Or maybe a couple people that I've heard, like maybe they're just different, and maybe you are a hardcore video game fan of the original Halo, and maybe you'll really like this. But I thought they did a good job of expanding the universe to understand what is going on, and then the side characters. The CGI was really good. Yes, there was a lot of scenes shot at night, but the CGI I thought still really worked. And I don't care if they do the cost-cutting thing of like, hey, 90% of the time we're just going to have a CGI thing with just CGI things on the screen, rather than trying to do the really expensive thing of have CGI thing physically interact with actual person thing, because that shit is real difficult to make look real. I don't mind that they go the cheap route because it maintains the reality better, and I think it's a better use of the budget. So they had a lot of good action in this movie season. They had a lot of good action, both like personal fighting and then also like exterior shots and just gunfire and everything else. There was a character that made like a really odd decision. Like they went back for a body at one point to like go save the body. And I was very confused because I'm like, is that person supposed to be alive? Is that why you're risking your life in a hail of like unstoppable gunfire when you're literally about to escape? You go back because he's still alive, right? Like you're bringing him because that is not a dead body that you're bringing back. It's a live body. No, it's a dead body. So I was confused for I want to say half an episode or so, being like, is he alive though? Did you do all that because he was alive, right? He wasn't alive, and there was no chance that he was alive. So I was correct in my initial assumption that he's dead. So I did not understand why she went back. I still don't understand why she went back. I feel like it was just for the heroic leap and hurry on, like must do the hero thing, which is just stupid when it's for a dead body in a battle. Like GTFO with all the still alive people instead of you dying or almost dying. Maybe you died. I'm not going to go over it. But dying for a body. Whatever. Still enjoyed this show. It does have problems. It's not perfect, but it's a much more enjoyable season. So I would say that if you tolerate the first season and are willing to give it a chance, this second season, well worth your time. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.